OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? It's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC podcast, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Now, this is a very special episode of Monday Night Raw. It is the final Monday Night Raw before we head into WrestleMania. It is officially WrestleMania week. I am so incredibly excited. I feel like we are in for such a wild journey this year, and this episode of Monday Night Raw, I'm not lying to you, was actually a really good show. So let's get straight into it. So we're firstly going to start with the segment that took place at the beginning. But before that, we got to see the WrestleMania stage set up, and we got to see a shot of Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which is where Monday Night Raw was taking place this week. And we got to see a reminder of what happened last week. We got to see Jackie Redmond catching up with both The Rock and Cody Rhodes after that interaction that they had earlier in the night. Then we got to see the beatdown segment again, which I'm not lying to you, I couldn't really watch it a second time through. But that's okay. Pretty much the first hour of Monday Night Raw this week was absolutely ad-free. It was commercial-free, which was really good because this is how they got to have a really good segment take up the first half an hour. So I've seen a lot of people saying how The Rock and Roman, if they're going to do these really long bloodline segments, should be taking place on Monday Night Raw because it's 3 hours instead of 2. And this is exactly what they did. The Rock came out, had his presence known, and he was talking about how he made Cody Rhodes bleed and he rammed his head into the side of the bus. And he said that he got the blood of Cody Rhodes on Rock's hand as well as on the weight belt as well. He said the only thing that's missing from this is the tears from Mama Rhodes. And he says the Cody crybabies didn't like that, and obviously didn't like the fact that I had to go to those lengths to beat down on Cody. And he said that he was laughing the entire time and he thought he did a great job. And then he shows a couple of clips, which I've actually seen these videos on TikTok, of these little girls who were crying because of Cody being beaten down. They obviously love Cody Rhodes and they didn't like it. And there was this one girl that was like, I'm never going to watch Moana again, which I was like, you go, Queen, let's boycott Moana because, you know, what can we say except you're welcome. And he comes back and he said, look, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Those kind of things, they honestly break me. I'm a dad of girls. Like, I obviously understand how much it can hurt for someone who they consider a role model to be like that. He said, but at the end of the day, The Rock is going to drop some gospel on you. And he said, look, a man has to do what he has to do when it comes to this kind of thing. And Cody was stepping into business that he's got no business being a part of. And he said, I've just proven to you guys that professional wrestling is cool again. And I'm going to make it known that this is the largest Raw gate that we have had ever. So I think it's like the 13th consecutive biggest number or something. But it's the largest amount of people they've had on Monday Night Raw, which is actually really cool to see. And then he welcomes out the bloodline. So Roman, Jimmy, Solo, and Paul all come out. Roman starts talking in the ring and he says that he's talking about his biography and talking about the documentary that aired last night, which I actually haven't had a chance to watch. I do plan to watch it within the next coming days. Obviously, preparing for WrestleMania, I've got a lot going on and I've just been incredibly busy, but I do plan to watch that as well as the Bray Wyatt documentary. Roman is wearing the hoodie that says family above all, and he says, look, I've come here to prove this point and I've come to acknowledge my family. And there's a whole bunch of yeet chants, obviously, for Jey Uso. Roman is like, no yeet, and everyone just gets real upset. And he's like, if you guys are going to keep saying yeet, like, I'm going to leave. And then he doesn't end up leaving, so clearly can't stand on business. As I'm trying to cover business here, he said, I want to thank my cousin for making this the easiest WrestleMania of my life. I've got 2 matches, I've got a tag match, and obviously the beatdown that Rock did on Cody means that my night 2 is going to be so much easier. He said it felt good to see The Rock beat down on Cody Rhodes like that. It felt good to see that kind of action be taken place for Cody Rhodes, especially after everything that's gone down. And he says when it's going to be the bloodline rules on Sunday after me and The Rock win the tag match. And obviously he made his boy bleed. He said Cody isn't fit for this. He's not fit for this role. He's a politician. He's not fit to be a champion like this. Roman makes a reference to Cody's time in AEW and said, look, we've been doing this. We've been making it cool since 2020 and Cody was off just doing God knows what. He said when Cody saw how good we had it, he decided to jump over, and we gave him a little bit of it at first, but then at the end of the day we decided that he's actually not cut out for this. Roman follows on by saying that this is our mountain, and before he gets a chance to finish his sentence, Seth Rollins makes his way out to the ring. Now, obviously he does the fake out where they hit the music and he thinks they're going to come down from the entrance ramp, but we know our boy Seth Rollins, he came out doing the Shield entrance, which obviously, as you do best. Seth Rollins starts off by saying that if you idiots think that I'm going to be walking down into that ring, you are stupid. He said, if you're going to go ahead and pull that kind of stunt, you're going to have to fight me and the entirety of Brooklyn. He said, you crossed the line last week, and this week I am ready for a fight. If anything, I'm ready for a fight tonight because Brooklyn deserves it. So how about we have me versus the final boss? Or we could have me versus Roman Reigns. You guys pick, name a stipulation, whoever's got the biggest balls to go ahead and fight me. The Rock looks at Seth and says, you run your mouth and challenge us. Did you not see what we did to Cody last week? You don't want any of this. You're not going to be fighting me, and you're not going to be fighting Roman. And we see Solo step up, and Solo grabs the mic, and Solo actually starts talking, which, as we know, when Solo says something, it means something important. Solo reiterates what The Rock just said and said that you aren't fighting Roman or The Rock, but you're going to be going ahead and fighting me. Seth Rollins responds to Solo and says it's clear to see that you've got the biggest bag in the entirety of the bloodline. You're on, and it's going to be bloodline rules. We have a few small backstage segments. Let's quickly get into those. So I actually missed this earlier on in the day, and I ended up seeing this on TikTok before I watched Monday Night Raw. So Rhea Ripley was featured on the MMA Hour, which is Ariel Helwani's show, and she was talking and she was having an interview, and then Becky Lynch ended up ringing Ariel Helwani, I forgot his name for a hot second. She ended up FaceTiming him and was like, I really want to come and obviously step up to Rhea. So she came to the show and they got into a full-blown scrap. Then Kathy Kelly is backstage with Becky Lynch and is like, what happened? Like, what's going on? And Becky responded by saying, I'm going to finish exactly what I started earlier on if Rhea Ripley wants to go ahead and continue this issue. So the first match we had of the night was a tag match, and it was the Judgment Day taking on the New Day and DIY. Now this is obviously in preparation for their ladder match taking place this week at WrestleMania. I'm really excited for it. I've heard a few rumblings that a few things can change within that match, but I really don't want it to because I think the card for that match specifically is really good. I feel like all the teams really deserve it and they can actually do a really great job in this ladder match. So from the very beginning, DIY and the New Day are going after the Judgment Day very early on, and then we end up seeing Finn and Johnny both starting the match for their respective teams. Then we see Dominic Mysterio go for what is almost the Three Amigos, but then Johnny Gargano counters it. Tommaso Ciampa, as always, has just got his amazing cardio within this match. He hits a really nice clothesline on both JD and Dominic Mysterio as well. Xavier comes in and he hits something very similar to Bianca's KOD on JD McDonough. And then we see Dom set up that 619, which Tommaso ends up intercepting. Johnny Gargano goes for a suicide dive, and we see a really nice standing Spanish fly coming in from JD McDonough. Damian Priest is just on another level. He's like, nah, screw this, I'm locked in. He ends up taking out Tommaso Ciampa. He also takes out Kofi Kingston, and he ends up hitting a razor's edge at the very end to come away with the win. So Judgment Day won this match. I did notice the camera work at the very end of the match on Damian's face. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm rooting for my boy Priest because I need this man to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. And I think this is what we're going to see this weekend. We head backstage after this match and the Bloodline is there. We end up finding out that Roman is leaving, which, as we always know in wrestling, if someone says they're leaving, they're actually staying. And then we end up finding out that Paul Heyman is going to be inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame by none other than Roman Reigns. I think this is a perfect decision. I really, in my chaotic mindset, would have loved to see CM Punk do it, but I know storyline-wise it's best for Roman to do it, and I think this makes sense. Then after this, we end up seeing this really cool, like, Rocky-style segment. It's like a promo package, very much like a hype package for the match between Gunther and Sami Zayn. We end up seeing Sami Zayn and Chad Gable at the Performance Center, and it's like a Rocky workout, kind of get yourself ready for the fight kind of style thing. And it was really cool to see. It's awesome to see Chad Gable is mentoring Sami Zayn going into the biggest match of Sami's life. Sami is obviously feeling really afraid and really upset about wanting to meet people's expectations and not let people down, and he's afraid. And I think Chad is very much trying to give him that tough love kind of mentality, like, hey, you can't beat him, but I want to help you, you know, kind of thing. I really enjoyed seeing it. I'm really enjoying the layering of storytelling, because I reckon what's going to happen later on down the line, and Reese has said it on the podcast many a times too, I'm not piggybacking off what he said, we've all got the very much same idea, that this will eventually turn into Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, and I feel like this is a really cool way that you can actually develop that storyline in the background, keep it on the back burner, whilst you got this match going on with Gunther and Sami Zayn. I feel like this is just the way to make a lot of people happy and give Chad Gable what he deserves at the end of the day. But I really enjoyed this, and this is obviously helping Sami Zayn going into WrestleMania. Then, something really odd that happens, we're backstage, we're in the Judgment Day clubhouse, and Judgment Day are there, and then we end up seeing Legado del Fantasma Charisma come in. Now, obviously, Dominic Mysterio will be going up with Santos to go up against Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio this weekend at WrestleMania. And Rhea and Damien are very confused, like, what's going on? Like, you can't just invite people into our clubhouse. Like, what is going on? Like, we gave you the opportunity to work with them. Like, what? You know, they were all really confused. It was very much like a miscommunication, and Damien and Rhea both just get really disappointed. We had a rematch from last week. Now, no, this is not deja vu. Sami Zayn and Bronson Reed had a rematch. Now, I believe last week from memory, I think it was Bronson Reed that won that match. So this is kind of like an opportunity for Sami Zayn to prove how much the training with Chad Gable has helped him so that he can obviously further himself towards WrestleMania. Sami and Bronson are just brawling with each other. There is a lot of really fast hits, and we see Bronson take control within the match. He ends up splashing Sami, and Sami ends up flying over the top ropes, and Bronson Reed ends up catching him, and we see Sami hit a really nice crossbody. Then we end up seeing that Chad Gable's actually watching on the monitor backstage. Bronson ends up attacking Sami, and we see a really nice sunset flip powerbomb come in by Sami as well, followed up by a really nice tornado DDT. Then we see the suplex, senton, and setup of the tsunami come in from Bronson Reed. Bronson goes for the tsunami, and then Sami ends up going away, so there's nobody home within that moment. Gunther ends up making his presence known. He drags out Chad Gable. He's clearly been attacking him backstage, and obviously this distracts Sami. Sami runs down to help Chad, but then Gunther ends up cheap attacking Sami, and he just absolutely just leaves him, just like leave him for good. Like, can't get back into that match. He just beats him down, hits him with a really nice big boot, throws the title at him. Like, he's just literally mauling him at this point. So Sami's just left lying on the ground, and nobody won this match. And there's a few matches this week where that's kind of the result, but I guess it's to keep everybody protected going into WrestleMania. But I was just like, okay, cool. We head backstage where Jey Uso is hyping himself up. He's really excited, and he ends up running into Lil Wayne. So Lil Wayne was in attendance for Monday Night Raw this week, which was crazy to say, crazy to see. Didn't expect it, but hey, we got what we got. And he asks Lil Wayne if he's free for WrestleMania, and he's like, yeah, so Lil Wayne's going to be at WrestleMania. How cool is that? Then we see Damage Control is arriving to the arena backstage, and we see a segment for the Hall of Fame. Now, this is obviously going through everybody who's being inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. I did call it a couple of weeks ago that The Rock's grandmother is going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and apparently The Rock is inducting his grandmother into the Hall of Fame. So if we're inducting all our grandparents, can I also induct mine? Because mine's actually really kind of cool. And I feel like she would be great in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. She knows nothing about it, but she'd be cool. She's an honorary Judgment Day member, if anyone's asking. We have a super short women's tag match, and I hate to say it like that, but we've got two of them tonight, so I feel a little bit better about that. So the first one is Ivy and Maxine taking on Indy and Candice. Now, this is just furthering the storyline between Indy and Candice as well. So at the beginning of this match, we see Ivy and Indy are both grappling each other, and then Maxine ends up coming in, and Indy just slams her to the ground. Candice is showing no remorse during this match, and we see Maxine attempt a roll through, and then Candice just ends up hammering away at Maxine Dupree. Ivy and Indy are both on fire within this match, and then we end up seeing Candice sending Ivy Nile flying because Ivy's trying to set up like a top rope move. Maxine ends up hitting a drop kick and then does a roll up and wins the match. Candice is very mad. Candice is very angry at Indy for losing the match, and I'm interested to see where that goes, because obviously Indy is like an uber babyface, and then Candice is kind of in between, going more towards the heel side. So it's interesting to see if Indy is going to conform to what Candice wants, or if, you know what I mean, like, could we be bringing that the way? I don't know. Seth Rollins sees Jey Uso backstage, and he is catching up with him in preparation for the match that he's got tonight, and Jay's like, look, whatever happens tonight, if the Bloodline go ahead and try and pull some weird stunts, I've got your back. Then we end up seeing, this is probably my favourite thing from the entire night. It's very much like Drew McIntyre's at a funeral, and he's like looking, and he's like closing a casket, and then he ends up doing a eulogy on CM Punk. Like, he's literally like, look into my eyes, what do you see? CM Punk ain't gonna be in Philly, or something like that. And I was like, oh my goodness. He refers to Seth Rollins as a Jared Leto wannabe. Says he's based his entire personality around that. And at the end of this, he calls him a broken horse, and he's going to take him out back and put him down. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Drew is just on one. We head back to the ring where we have Ricochet going up against Ivar, and I feel like I've seen this within the last 6 months, but this actually, to me, I reckon was probably match of the night, and I would never say that about Ivar because I'm not a massive Viking Raiders fan. This was a really great match though. It gave Ivar the opportunity to show a lot of his strength and his agility as well too, as a bigger guy. Ricochet obviously on fire with his agility and his speed and his moveset the entire match as well. So Ivar's on the attack in the very beginning using a lot of his strength. Ricochet hits a really nice drop kick. Ivar ends up swatting Ricochet out of the air, and then Ivar is in charge of the match before it goes to the commercial break. Ivar ends up hitting a crossbody across the bottom of the ring towards Ricochet during the commercial break, and we see a sit-down splat by Ivar. Ricochet ends up hitting an insane sequence, which I literally had no time to write down anything that happened. He follows this up with a really nice flying clothesline, and Ivar hits a powerbomb. Ivar sets up the Doom Salt. There's nobody home. We see a fall-away slam and a 630 come in from Ricochet to come away with the win. So he beats Ivar. This was a really great match. I highly recommend you go and watch it. If there's anything that you want to watch out of Monday Night Raw this week, I recommend this match because this was just really great. Then after this, the shot kind of goes from in the ring backstage, and we end up going back to the Judgment Day clubhouse, where everyone is still pissed off about the fact that Ricochet has not been taken down by anybody within the Judgment Day. JD says, and he's like, I'm gonna take care of him in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale, and everyone's like, I don't think so. And Dom's like, well, look, if none of us can do it, I will find someone else that can. Andrade comes in, and Dom's trying to get him to be a part of the faction, but everyone's like, you can't just make decisions like that. What are you doing, kind of thing. And then we end up seeing Dom actually introduce him, Andrade, to Santos Escobar, which I was like, okay. This will eventually lead to something. Knowing Triple H, everything kind of means everything. Do you remember that? I'll put the picture here. The picture of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with like all the different strings and stuff. That's how I feel with anything Triple H storyline related, because everything links back to each other at some point in time. It all kind of links back and everything, and it's just, you've got to remember everything. All the little Easter eggs, it's just, yeah. Triple H's storytelling is all over the place, but it's great long-term booking sometimes. Becky Lynch makes her way out to the ring, where she jumps on the mic and says that she is looking for a fight. She obviously started something earlier on in the day with Rhea Ripley, and she's looking to finish right now, what she started. And she asks Rhea to come out and fight her. Adam Pearce comes out and goes, nope. There's a whole bunch of security that comes out, and he's like, nah, we're going to keep this till WrestleMania. Can we please just keep this? Can you please just leave the ring? Like, we're not doing this right now, blah, blah, blah. Rhea Ripley makes her presence known. She runs up to Adam. Adam's begging her, like, no, let's not do this right now. Rhea ends up throwing the title at Adam Pearce's chest, runs through the security, and they both just get into this massive, massive brawl. A whole bunch more security come out, and it is just absolute carnage. I'm so happy we got to see this. A lot of people were saying this time last week there was no storyline between Rhea and Becky, and I don't know what to tell you. There is storyline there. Like, sure, I would have loved a more built-up storyline considering how much time they had, but there's obviously a lot going on within WWE, so I feel as though a little bit of story is better than none at all. Damage Control is backstage just before their match, and they are talking about how they are the most dominant faction within the entirety of the women's division, and after WrestleMania, they will continue to be the most dominant faction considering they have all of the gold right now, and that Damage Control is the future. And we end up cutting back quickly to see that Rhea and Becky are still brawling. So they clearly took it all the way from the ring, all the way backstage. And Adam Pearce is like, get Becky out of here, get her gone, get her gone. But I'm like, she didn't do anything wrong. So you know how I said before we have 2 women's tag matches tonight? Yes, we're going to talk about the second one now. So the second one is Damage Control taking on Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Tegan Nox. So at the beginning of this match, Damage Control are just beating down on Tegan, Zoe, and Shayna. And then we end up seeing a really nice triple suplex coming in from all 3 of the babyface members when they're eventually all in the ring. Zoe had a really great showing during this match. She got to do a lot of awesome moves like suplexes, missile drop kicks. She actually got a really great time to shine, and I was kind of upset when I found out she wasn't a part of WrestleMania, but she got her moment, and I'm really happy to see that. Tegan ends up going after Dakota, and then Dakota hits a really nice running kick as well. Kairi sets up that insane elbow to obviously secure the win for Damage Control. It's interesting to see Damage Control is winning this tag match going into WrestleMania. I feel as though it's going to be Naomi, Jade, and Bianca winning at Mania. I'm so excited that we have that as an actual team, but I feel like something's going to happen with Jade and Bianca during this match that's going to cause issues. I don't know. I feel like they're just not going to be on the same page. We head backstage where we see Solo Sikoa is in a locker room getting ready for his match. Kathy Kelly runs into Seth Rollins backstage before he goes out for his match, and Kathy's like, look, hey, how are you feeling about tonight? Do you think you should be doing this close to WrestleMania? And Seth Rollins is like, I literally only have one gear, and it's pushing pedal to the metal, going until I have an empty tank, and at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, I have a plan B. So interesting to see what that is. And then Seth Rollins is making his way out to the ring, and we see Drew McIntyre is backstage. They run into each other, and Seth's like, I'm not dead yet, or something. And then they do the floating running shot like they did a couple weeks ago, where Seth Rollins is walking all the way out from backstage through Gorilla out into the ring, and he has made his way into the main event. So the main event for this evening is a Bloodline rules match. It is Solo Sikoa taking on the World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins, and this was a really great match. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the chemistry that Seth and Solo both have. I don't actually remember if we have seen these two wrestle each other, but still, really great showing for both of them. So Seth is going for Solo straight away, and he hits a really nice suicide dive outside the ring. Then we see them both fighting outside the ring, and then Solo ends up getting thrown into the steel steps. Seth Rollins just throws a whole bunch of steel chairs at Solo Sikoa. Seth Rollins hits a really nice DDT onto the chair, so he ends up planting Solo's head into the chair. Solo ends up Samoan dropping Seth Rollins into a table, and then we go to the commercial break. After the commercial break, Solo is throwing Seth into the ring steps, and then we end up seeing Seth Rollins throw Solo Sikoa through a table, and he hits a really nice stomp, and then Jimmy comes out, and he starts trying to beat down on everybody, and then Jay comes out, and they kind of go for each other. They neutralize. They are like fighting each other on the entrance ramp, and then we end up seeing them both go towards the corner, and then we end up seeing Jey Uso get thrown out, and then The Rock comes out and he starts assaulting Jey Uso, and we see The Rock come out. He makes his way into the ring, and he like approaches Seth Rollins, and then we hear Cody Rhodes' music hits. Cody starts brawling with The Rock. After this, there's a lot to take in. I'm trying my best, but there was just so much that happened in the last couple of minutes. It's absolutely insane. So if I'm looking down here, it's because my notes are here. So pretty much what had happened, I'm just going to read it verbatim from my paper. So Cody came out and he started brawling with The Rock. Then Seth and Cody start throwing down on, or they actually got Rock ready to be thrown into the commentary table. Then Roman was under the ring the entire time. Surprise, surprise. And he starts attacking both Cody and Seth, and then we end up seeing Roman hit a Superman punch on Seth Rollins. He ends up spearing Cody Rhodes, and then The Rock has like a weight belt around his belt, like his waist, so he ends up pulling it off, and he just starts like slapping the crap out of Cody and Seth with it. He just, yeah. Kind of unsettling. No one won the match, just FYI. I guess this is what Bloodline rules means. So if this is what Cody has to endure during night 2 of WrestleMania next week, I am a little concerned. And that brings us to the end of the Monday Night Raw review for this week. If you guys stuck around till the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go ahead and like the video. Comment something that you enjoyed about Monday Night Raw. I kind of enjoyed the Solo Seth match before The Rock came out and made his presence known, tried to put his big balls on the table. But hey, what can I say except you're not welcome, because I'm boycotting Moana at this point. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the post notifications, the little bell icon next to where it says subscribe, so you don't miss any of our uploads. Make sure you go ahead and check out the description, and you can find all of our personal social medias, as well as where you can find Outcasted on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, so you can keep up to date with any of our content when we're not posting on the YouTube channel. You've got your regular NXT review coming in from Reese this week, and then we've got the podcast later on this week where we're going to be talking about the Hall of Fame, and we're going to be talking about our WrestleMania predictions. It's also kind of like a 1-year anniversary for Outcasters, so I'm so excited to be a part of this still. I'm so happy that they kept my contract going, because I didn't know if I was going to be around or not. That's actually a lie. They love me. It's fine. Then you got your SmackDown review coming in, and we've got a whole bunch of WrestleMania content coming in. I think we're going to go more into depth about what you can expect from us on the podcast, because we're still kind of working on the nitty-gritty of that behind the scenes. So we'll make sure to let you guys know. Like I say, if you keep up to date with us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, you can find when we're going to be posting stuff. I think we're going to be going live for WrestleMania. Don't quote me on that, but I'm hoping we do. Anyway, I'll leave you guys alone, because I've been bothering you now for a very long time, and I've got things to do. I'll see you in the podcast this week. I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. If it's 2 a.m., you need to go to sleep. All right, bye guys.